We had one, like all these guys were on drugs or something is what we were busting. So, I'm sure a lot of you have asked, what does this guy do for a living? I know I've made vague mentions of being an IT person, but I figured I would go into more detail about that if anyone is interested in knowing. I am an IT person. I've worked my way up through the ranks of middle management and got out of that in a hurry. But I am an IT guy for a small company that does IT work at various places for business customers and residential. We're also part of a very, very small ISP. However, I focus more on business customers, and I've been there. October of 2017 will make 16 years. I started while I was in high school and just stayed on. Areas I focus on are wireless deployment. I'm a big fan of Ubiquiti's Unify system. It is, if you're looking for wireless for business, it is bar none the best bargain, the best performance you will ever get out of a wireless system. I mean, it is just incredible. I also do a lot of stuff with medical offices as far as their EMR software. That part's fun, not. But, I mean, you know, you got to take the good with the bad. For instance, just Friday, me and a coworker installed a church with unified access points. We pulled out 9 routers out of this place. 9 actual routers, 2 of which were hooked in and doing DHCP over the network, along with their main router doing DHCP. So there's 3 DHCP servers on this network. And if you don't know what that means, I'll put it to you this way. Computers work along the same line as street addresses. Your computer, when you turn it on and you've got, let's say, high-speed internet, we'll simplify this. Dial-up's a different case, but who's using that now? Anyways, let's say you've got high-speed internet and you've got a router, wireless router and stuff in your house. And when you turn the computer on, the computer asks for a DHCP IP address if you have it set up that way, which the majority of people do. It asks for an address. Then there's a server built into your router or cable modem, however you have that set up, that will see that request, send it an address saying, hey, here's your IP address, here's your subnet mask, here's your gateway, and here's your DNS. And I mean, I could get into a whole series on how DNS works and all of that, but your computer gets that address, and that router tells it how to communicate with the internet. And so anyway, so when they had 3 of those on their network, only one of them actually had the internet source. So half the time they would call us and say, this computer doesn't have any internet. We'd go out there, and it was because all these DHCP servers were handing out IPs saying, hey, I've got the internet over here, and it didn't. So the router doesn't check that. It just hands out the DHCP, and that part of it just assumes that, you know, you have internet on it. So anyways, we yanked out these 9 routers. And another problem with routers is because if they get reset, they start handing out DHCPs. That's their natural function, at least on these residential grade ones that they had. So we pulled out 9 of those things and an old 10 meg Intel hub and put in 5 Ubiquiti Unify access points, installed the controller, got that all set up, and it was such a fun job. I've got another big one coming up that's going to be 8 Unify radios. One is a panel mesh radio that's going to go into a gym, and the other ones are the highest end they make, Unify ACHDs. These things can do 4 gigs worth of wireless per radio. That's how many, you know, how much data throughput could be going on. Now, a majority of that's over 5 gigahertz, which is another thing to talk about. But that's fine. That's fine. We also have a 16-port unified PoE switch going into this big job, and we have the 8-port EdgeMax Pro Edge router from Ubiquiti that has 2 SFP ports, which are fiber connectors, and it can handle over 2 million plus packets a second of routing, because this is going to have a lot of users on it, and some little chintzy $100 router is not going to cut it. This thing has some major hardware. So yeah, that's what I do for a living. I'm an IT guy. I'm told I'm pretty good at it. The YouTube thing here is kind of a hobby, as I've said before. I do it because it's fun. I like video editing. I always have. That was what me and my buddies would always do. We'd always make little movies and stuff. And oh man, I remember one night we were making a movie and someone hit the freeze camera button, and it was so funny. It freezed on we were making our own little spoof of Cops, and he hit the freeze button by mistake, but it froze on one of our guys. It was Cops. We were busting into this house, and there was, we had one, like all these guys were on drugs or something is what we were busting, and we had one guy with his head in the washer, just bent over with his head in the washer, and we had another guy sitting on the toilet, and when he opened the door, he hit the freeze camera button by mistake, and it was like this. It was so funny, I tell you. I wish I had video footage of it, but then the numbnuts recorded over it. Oh, but that's for a different time. Okay, tell you what, this has been a lot of fun. We'll talk to you later.